Welcome back. We were discussing the last two classes about the interaction parameters that contribute to the NMR spectrum. And we discussed chemical shifts, its origin, and understood something about shielding, screening shielding factor, and Lamb's formula, etc. The chemical shift is a really a big topic. Lot more we can discuss, but still we have not come to the point where we know how to utilize this as a parameter for the analysis of NMR spectrum. So we'll continue further with the discussion of chemical shifts. Okay, I remember last class I said when we took CH and CA3, I said CA3 is more shielded than CH, and that's the reason I said CA3 comes at high field than this CH proton. The reason was I said the nucleus of CH3 sees more electron density surrounding this one because it's more shielded compared to CH proton. Now I just want to take an example. What happens if there are more number of equivalent protons like this, different types of proton with different number of protons present like this. For example, CH, CH2 and CH3. Of course, logic is simple. We discussed last class where I said CH3 is more shielded, comes to high field because it sees a different field, more field than this one, more shielded than this one. Now I take in between another group called CH2. What is the logical conclusion? Where this peak should come? Let us extend the logic. If CH has one proton, let's say it comes here, CH2 comes more shielded, little high field here, then CH3 has to come somewhere in between, because this charge density or distribution of this charge around this nucleus for CH2 is in between that of CH and CH3. As a consequence, if I look at the NMR spectrum of molecule containing CH, CH2 and CH3, of course, forgetting about other parameter, I'm just for the purpose of explanation, I'm taking an example. CH3 should come here, then CH2 and then CH. That should be the case. Of course, the peaks are not of the same height. I have made it a crude diagram. Just I have drawn three peaks to say that they come at different fields. That's all. We are not worrying about the intensity, everything. That is a topic which we'll discuss later. So this is a very simple bell analogy. Look at these things. Very beautifully we can understand from this. This is the bell. You consider this as the charge distribution surrounding this nucleus. This is a nuclear spin. This is much more compared to this bell. This is the center of the bell. Consider this as the nucleus and this is the charge distribution. When I come back to this one, this is even smaller than this. This also has a nucleus and the charge distribution. Very simple comparison to the spectrum I showed before. This is CH3, more shielded with 3 protons, comes at high field. Then comes CH2 and then CH in the same order. It's a fantastic analogy to say how different shielding leads to different chemical shifts. With different functional groups present in the molecule, also we have different shielding. As a consequence, the peaks come at different fields, resonate at different fields. Look at this CH3, which we discussed, which comes here. Now, instead of CH2, I will take a OCH3 group, a methoxy group. What do you expect when I take a methoxy group? There is an oxygen attached to CH3 group. It is an electronegative atom. It withdraws electrons from the CH3 protons. As a consequence, what happens? Shielding reduces. So, same CH3 proton without any electronegative atom, let us say it comes here. Now, Moment you put an oxygen here, when you make it OCH3 group, the peak shifts to the downfield. It comes here. Now I take a single CH proton which was somewhere here. Instead of that, I'll take OH. Same analogy like here. Oxygen is electronegative, withdraws electrons from this proton. As a consequence, what happens? OH peak comes downfield. So in a molecule containing three different functional groups are present. For example, CH3, OCH3 and OH. Logical conclusion is OCH3 should come here, then OCH3 and OH when you go from high field to low field. This is the order it follows. This is only a crude example I am giving. It may happen because of the neighboring groups, peaks may move here and there. I am not worried about that. I am just telling you as a simple example what happens to different functional groups when different electronegative atoms are attached to it. Okay. So now this is the easy way to understand. And look at the peaks. I have taken an NMR spectrum like this. This is simple molecules. Both peaks are present here. There are two peaks. Why? Look at this molecule. There are two different types of CH3 groups. Both are CH3, mind you. This is also CH3. This is also CH3. But this is attached to the C double bond OCH3. This is only OCH3 methoxy. But interestingly, this CH3 is not directly attached to oxygen. So this CH3 this CH3 comes here. Whereas, as I said in the previous example, the CH3 group attached to this oxygen because it withdraws electron comes downfield. Look at the peak height, both are same. But this comes downfield, whereas this comes high field. So when you want to analyze the spectrum, as you go ahead, I'll tell you as we go ahead further, I'll tell you have to consider the height of the peaks also. I took the special example of this because both are CH3 groups containing equal number of protons, so it has the same height. But substituent has different effect on these one of the CH3s and brings it to downfield. So now let me introduce a term called chemical equivalence, a term which is very important. Chemically equivalent nuclei are those which are interchangeable by symmetry operation. I don't need to explain this. The molecule has symmetry, whether it is a C2V symmetry or whether it has a inversion symmetry, depending upon the type of symmetry it has, we can say whether the protons have the same chemical environment. Chemically equivalent means they should have the same chemical environment. We can find out by simple symmetry operation. Just write down the symmetry axis or symmetry plane or symmetry point, whatever it is, and you can find out which are the protons. We can find out which are the protons that are chemically equivalent. And such protons which are chemically equivalent will have the same chemical sheets, but the coupling to other spins need not be the same. What is the coupling? I will not even introduce about scalar coupling. I only gave some introduction when I introduced interaction parameters. We will come to that later. But remember, coupling may be different, but so long as they are chemically equivalent, they are called isochronous nuclei. Okay? They are called isochronous. So each chemically inequivalent nuclei gives a distinct peak in NMR. Remember in the previous example, OCH3 and CH3. These two are two different groups because the chemical environments were different. they are chemically inequivalent spins, and those two CH3s gave two distinct peaks. Similarly, in a molecule, if there are n number of chemically inequivalent protons, you will get n number of chemical shifts. You understand? There are, let us say, there are 6 different chemical shift functional groups in a molecule. I'm not taking into account the couplings. You must get 6 distinct peaks. Okay. Now let us look at chemical equivalence. Okay, let us look at chemical equivalence by looking at some of the molecules like this. Take a simple molecule like this, which is, I think, difluoro 1,2-difluoroethylene. Okay. Now, where is the symmetry axis for this molecule? Just look at this one. This is the symmetry axis. Of course, you can write like this also. There is no problem. Because of the symmetry axis, what is going to happen here is the fluorine 1 and fluorine 4 are equivalent, chemically equivalent. So, new resonating frequency for this fluorine and this fluorine both are same. They come at the same chemical shift. So, nu1 is equal to nu4. Similarly, look at protons. Nu2 is equal to nu3 because of the symmetry operation. So, proton 2 and proton 3 come at the same chemical shift position. So, they give single peak. These two fluorines give single peak in the fluorine spectrum. These two protons give single peak in the proton spectrum. You understand how symmetry simplifies the spectrum. Otherwise, if let us say I attach some X here, something else, or here I'll attach another functional group, then there is no symmetry. So in this proton spectrum, we have two different peaks. Similarly, fluorine spectrum, we have two different peaks. In this example, because of symmetry, this proton and this proton are equivalent, and this fluorine and this fluorine are equivalent. Okay. And what about other interaction parameters? We'll come to that later. Now look at this molecule. The same difluoroethylene, but now the position of the fluorine is shifted here. Here it was trans, but now it is cis. These two fluorines are in cis configuration. These two were in trans configuration. Now where is the symmetry axis here? This is the symmetry axis. What does it mean? In this molecule also, fluorine 1 and fluorine 2, now they are equivalent. Similarly, proton 3 is chemically equivalent with proton 4. So, fluorine NMR gives you only one peak for these two fluorine. Similarly, proton NMR will give you only one peak for these two protons because of chemical equivalence. What about this molecule? Now, it is, again I have shifted the position of the fluorine. Now, both the fluorine is attached to a single carbon. Again, difluoroethylene. Now, do we have a symmetry for this molecule? Yes, if you look at the molecule carefully, this is the symmetry axis. Now, look at the chemical equivalence. Fluorine 1 again is equal to fluorine 3. So, chemical shift of 1 and 3 are same. It gives a single peak again in the fluorine NMR. What about protons? Look at it. Proton also, nu2 is equal to nu4. Again, there is a symmetry and these two are equivalent. So, you get single peak for this even in the proton NMR. So, these are the three different difluorosubstituted ethylenes where the substituent position is varied. All the three molecules have symmetry axis. As a consequence, Both the fluorines are chemically equivalent and both the protons are chemically equivalent in all the three different molecules. So, if I take proton NMR, all the three molecules will give only one peak. If I take fluorine NMR, all the three molecules will give a single peak. Okay. Now, this is another parameter which I will discuss maybe later. Now, let us look at this molecule. What is this benzene? What about the symmetry of the benzene? It has a T6H symmetry. This is a symmetry axis here passing through this plane of this ring. Now, all the 6 protons of the benzene are chemically equivalent. This proton, this proton, this proton, whatever the numbering you do, all are same. It means benzene will give only one peak in the proton NMR. There is something interesting also you can see. Look at this carbon here. Are they equivalent? Yes, benzene has a resonance structure. If you look at these things, all the 6 carbons are also equivalent. I'm not talking about heteronuclear number at the moment. It takes some more classes to come to you. But at the moment, I tell you, as from the symmetry considerations, all 6 carbons are equivalent, chemically equivalent. So if I go to carbon 13 NMR, then also we will get a single peak. Okay, that is benzene. Let us look at one or two more examples. Go to acetone. Is there a symmetry axis here? Yes, along this axis. The structure is written like this, but there is a fast rotation going on about CC axis along this axis. And there is a fast rotation going on about this axis. So these two, this CH3 group and this CH3 group are equivalent. These 3 protons of the methyl group are also chemically equivalent. They are not different. In addition to that, this methyl group is also chemically equivalent with this methyl group. So, this acetone molecule has 6 different protons. 6 protons. But because of the symmetry consideration, in that if you take the proton NMR, all the 6 protons are symmetric and give rise to a single peak. You understand? Acetone gives a single peak. Of course, what about the carbon here? Very interesting. All protons are same, equivalent will give a single peak. But carbons are not same. This carbon is chemically equivalent with this carbon because of symmetry consideration. But what about this carbon? They are different from these two. So, if I look at the carbon 13 NMR, we get 2 peaks for carbon. One for this and one for this. I'm sorry, one for this. These 2 carbons are same and this is different. We get 2 peaks. Proton NMR gives a single peak. Now come to this molecule pyruvate. This has no symmetric consideration at all as far as the proton NMR is concerned, or carbon 13, whichever the nuclei consider. But all the 3 protons of the methyl group are identical because of the fast rotation of methyl group about the CC axis, and you will get only one peak for protons. But if you look at the carbons of this molecule, because there is no symmetry at all, this molecule lacks any type of symmetry. Of course, planar symmetry may be there, but then because of that, this carbon, and this carbon, all the 3 carbons are chemically non-equivalent. As a consequence, in carbon 13 NMR, you still get 3 peaks. But in the proton NMR, you get only 1 peak. Remember, this is a fantastic molecule, cyclohexane. Now let's see, is there any symmetry for this molecule? Fantastic symmetry is there. All protons are equivalent. All carbons are chemically equivalent. If I look for the proton NMR, you get a single peak. If you look for the carbon 13 NMR, you still get a single peak. Remember, this is because of symmetry operation. Okay. Now look at this molecule, methyl acetate. Here, there are two CH3 groups. But remember, this CO is attached to this CH3. Only oxygen attached to this CH3. As a consequence, the protons marked with red color and protons marked with blue color are not same. So, these three protons may be equivalent. They're equivalent. These three protons of CH3 may be equivalent. But between them, this CH3 is different from this CH3. They are not chemically equivalent. So the methyl acetate, if I look for proton NMR, you get two different types of peaks. That's what we saw. Remember, in one of the spectrum, I showed two CH3 peaks. One was attached to CO coming downfield, and this CH3 was high field. We saw that methyl acetate. I showed you the spectrum of this. Now it is a paraxylene, very interesting. All the three types of xylene you take, ortho, meta and para, all of them have symmetry. Okay. Now what is the symmetry axis here? This is the symmetry axis. Now what does it mean? If I go by, of course there is another symmetry axis also for this side. It has C2V symmetry. Now because of that, if you look at it, these three protons, CH3 protons, are equivalent with these three protons. There are 6 protons chemically equivalent. All the protons of this methyl, all the protons of this methyl are equivalent, and both the methyl groups are equivalent. So they will get one peak for methyl protons. What about these 4 protons? This proton is chemically equivalent with this. This is chemically equivalent with this. If you go along this symmetry axis, this is equivalent to this and this is equivalent to this. So all the 4 protons of paraxylene are also chemically equivalent of the ring. The ring protons are also equivalent. That means these 4 protons will give you only single peak. You understand? Now the paraxylene, because of its symmetry, get only 2 peaks. One peak for CH3, another peak for ring protons. Look at the acetone. Of course, what about the carbon here? You should understand. How many peaks we get for carbon? Remember, this carbon is equivalent to this carbon. We get only one peak. These two are equivalent. What about these 6 carbons? But this carbon and this carbon, these ipso carbons are not equal, are different from the remaining 4 ring carbons. This is equivalent to this. So these 2 carbons are equivalent. But these 2 are not equivalent with the remaining ring carbons. These 2 and these 2 are same. This and this are same. So we have 3 different types of carbon in paraxylene. We get 3 peaks in carbon 13 NMR. Look at acetaldehyde. We have only 2 different groups, 3 protons, one CH3 group, 1 proton, and CH proton. There are 2 different types of peaks for proton. Similarly, we have 2 different carbons. Acetaldehyde gives 2 proton signals and 2 carbon signals because of chemical non-equivalence of this molecule. There is no symmetry here at all. Okay. So now continuing with the chemically equivalent homotopic, another example I want to give you. Look at this molecule. This molecule, there is a symmetry axis along this, and this CH3 is equivalent to this CH3, whereas this CH2 is different. So what does it mean? We get 2 different types of peaks for proton, and these 2 methyl protons gives a single peak. This CH2 will give a single peak. What about the carbons? Exactly same. This carbon is chemically equivalent to this carbon, and both these carbon are inequivalent with this carbon. So again, there are 2 types of carbons. You get 2 spectrum in the carbon 13 NMR. Okay, like this. You can look at varieties of molecules like this. and this is a molecule where this is a 1,4 is chlorine in the fourth position. Here is a CH3. Now there is a symmetry axis along this, and this proton is equal to this, and this proton is equal to this. Okay, look at this molecule. Now we have taken CH3 here and CH3 here. There is a symmetry axis along this. Now what happens? This proton is chemically equivalent to this proton, gives a single peak. This proton and this proton are same because the environment for this is different. This side is different, this side is different. So all remaining ring protons are not same. Whereas this proton and this proton has the same environment on either side, so they are equivalent. Similarly, this proton B and this proton B, they are equivalent. So there are three different types of protons here. One for CH3, one for this proton HA, one for this proton HB. Similarly, look for the carbon here. How many chemically inequivalent carbons you can think of? One carbon for two methyl protons equivalent. What about this carbon? They are different. They are not equivalent with the other carbons. So this is another carbon. These two are equivalent. What about this carbon and this carbon? They are different. What about this and this? So these two carbons are equivalent and different from these two carbons which are equivalent, and different from these two carbons which are equivalent, and different from these two carbons which are equivalent. So how many chemically inequivalent carbons are there in this molecule? There are four different types of carbons. Remember, these two gives one type of carbon, these two gives another type of carbon, these two gives another chemically inequivalent carbon, and these two gives another chemically inequivalent carbon. So this molecule has three different protons and four different chemically inequivalent carbons. So this is a fantastic diagram to show what is chemical equivalence. See this, I showed you for the chemical shift, different types of bells where the charge distributions were different compared to the site of the nucleus. But here, see, all are same, identical. It's a perfect example of chemical equivalent of this side and also of this type of ring. These two may be different, but all these become one type of protons or carbons. All this becomes another type. This is an example for chemical equivalence. Okay. Now, in the NMR spectrum of a proton, if I take, you can observe very interesting things. Let us look at the spectrum of ethyl alcohol, CH3, CH2, OH. You all know it's ethyl alcohol. There is one proton coming here, one proton coming here, one proton coming. Don't worry about the multiplicity. I will discuss that when I explain scalar couplings. At the moment, assume there is one proton here, one proton here, one proton. Because these three different types of protons, all of them are chemically equivalent. Remember, all of them are chemically equivalent, and we got three different types of peaks. And this CH3, as we have been discussing, is highly shielded because of these three protons. It comes high field. This CH2 comes next. This OH proton is directly attached to this oxygen, directly bonded to this oxygen. So it pulls electrons from this proton. It is with electron withdrawing group, electronegative group. So it comes here. So now, if you carefully look at the intensity of the peaks, see this height and this height and this height are in the ratio of 1:2:3. I am not talking about height, I am talking about the area. Peak may be broad here. Why OH peak is broad is a different reason. I will explain to you later. But take the area of this group, area of this group. There are three groups of protons. The intensity ratio pertains to 1:2:3. Interesting, right? Look at it. Intensity is 1:2:3. But look at the number of protons in each of these groups. CH3 group has 3 protons. Intensity is 3. I said this is CH2. It has 2 protons. Intensity is 2. this is one proton, intensity is 1. That means if I take the integral area of all these groups of molecules, all these groups, peaks corresponding to each of these groups, if I take the integral area, what does area I will tell you? It will, when you compare with another single proton or other group of the same molecule, you can find out the number of protons present. So each peak, integral area of the peak, all gives you the proton count for that peak. So there are intensity is 3 here, integral area is 3, the proton count is 3 compared to 2, here proton count is 2, and this is proton count 1. But remember, there must be something relative. If I don't give any of these things, you will not be able to say. It must be relative. That I know this is a single proton CH. Because of this, I can compare. This is twice the intensity. I can compare this as thrice the intensity. If I give you only this one peak, I don't give you the numbers and I don't give this branch of this region of the spectrum. You don't know it is 3 or 5 or 10. You will not say. You don't know how many protons are there in this group. So there must be a relative comparison. You must find another peak which you're sure the number of protons that are present in that group. Relative to that, you will measure the areas of other peaks and number of protons which are present in that group. You are understanding my point? Now we will make a simple exercise. What is this exercise? Number of peaks based on the intensities and number of protons that are possible in each of them. Look at it very carefully. I will find out the number of peaks in the spectrum, measure the intensity, and I can tell you, I can count the number of protons. Okay. So now look at this one. This is a molecule with a perfect symmetry here. There are two CH3s present on either side, a para position, and these are 4. We discussed this type of molecule already earlier. So because of chemical equivalent, this CH3 and this CH3 are same. It is giving a single peak. These 4 protons, again because of C2 symmetry, are same. This gives another peak. So there are only 2 peaks here. Supposing I don't know which proton comes where. Can I say which is CH3 and which is aromatic ring protons? Easily, you can say that. Now, because of 2 CH3s are equivalent, this should have intensity 6 compared to these 4 protons, which has intensity 4. The intensity ratio must be 2:3. In which case, you can say this corresponds to ring protons and this corresponds to CH3 protons. This is another way of assignment. Looking at the intensity, you can also do that. Okay. So 4:6. So this is the ring proton, these are CH3 protons. You understand? So 2:3 intensity. Look at this molecule. There are 3 different types of protons, 3 groups, CH3, CH3 and CH2. Because of the symmetry here, along this axis, this CH3 and this CH3 are identical, chemically equivalent, and this is different. So when these two overlap, what is the intensity? 3 protons plus 3 protons. This CH3 peak must be 6 intensity. This CH2 must be 2 intensity. See, look at it. CH2 and CH3 intensity ratio is 1:3. You can easily identify. Come back to this molecule, which we saw already. Acetamide. So we saw that, CH3 and CH3 both are equivalent. This is CH3, this is CH3, but they are not chemically equivalent. So they are 1:1 intensity ratio. Both are CH3 protons. Okay. Now go to next set of molecule just to understand very quickly. What about this molecule? Look at it very carefully. There is a symmetry axis along this axis? No, because this side we have proton, that side is oxygen. So these two are not same. But anyway, as this structure is written in such a way, the spectrum is obtained theoretically in such a way, all the three CH3 groups are equivalent and this CH is separate. So that means this molecule, there are 10 protons, 9 of which are equivalent because 3 CH3s and only one is different. So what you should expect? 2 peaks. What is the intensity ratio? 1:9. Marvelous. We understood that, right? Now go to this molecule. Where is the symmetry along this axis? Now because of this, there are only two types of protons. Because of symmetry, this proton and this proton are same. Okay, now we'll take the last example of this molecule which has no symmetry at all. Now how many types of protons are present here? 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. You should get different types of protons. Maybe one of them is not seen here, OH, because it is broadened out. Don't worry. So you should get peaks with intensity ratio 1, 2, 3 and 6. Okay. In this molecule, it so happens this CH3, maybe structure what is written is like that. These two CH3s are equivalent. Sorry, I did not know the structure. So there are 4 peaks here. OH is also here. OH is 1 peak. It is a theoretical plot, stick plot. So this is OH. I mean, theoretically it is right. Although there is no symmetry, it is made to be equal. There are 2 CH3s are overlapped here. Intensity 6. Then 1 CH3 here, intensity 3. This is CH2 intensity 2. OH is intensity 1. This is how you can see the number of peaks, count the number of peaks, measure their areas. It will give you the proton count. You understood? And next, we'll talk more about the references, measurement of how do you measure the chemical shift in what is the unit of measurement of chemical shift and what happens the chemical shift with for different groups, everything. We'll discuss later. But for the day, I'm going to stop it. I hope you are all with me. I gave you some idea about the chemical shift, about especially symmetry operation, number of counting of the protons with the peak positions, peak height, everything. This is a very interesting topic. You should know more about chemical shift because this is the basis for your analysis of NMR spectra. Okay, we'll come back later. I'll stop it here.